I'm Leah Tyndale, and this is Note to Self. Every week I've been somewhere different. This week I'm coming and recording this from my hotel room in Sydney, which is very exciting. And the podcast episode today is all about being brave, because the reason I'm in Sydney is I won a competition at work for the International Women's Day, and part of that was to go to a conference here in Sydney and then also have lunch with our CEO and our head of HR, which was pretty amazing. And so they flew me over from little regional Western Australia to the big smoke of Sydney, put me up in this hotel for 2 nights, which was amazing. And there was another winner from Brisbane as well. It's coming to the end of my very brief whirlwind trip, but it's been so incredible, and it's just reminded me how important it is to be brave and to be your own advocate for things. So part of this whole nomination process, I actually, first of all, asked a couple of colleagues if they could nominate me, because when it came up, I was like, oh my gosh, that I would love to learn and go and do that, which is a hard thing to do because you feel pretty obnoxious to be like, nominate me as a woman that's worthy of going and being nominated for this thing. I obviously chose some colleagues that I'm good friends with as well and that are happy to support me. So I went and I did that, and they nominated me, which was really, really lovely. And then in sharing, I had another friend that was like, what? No, I'm going to email everyone and tell them to nominate you, which is incredible. So that's like another side note of like, have someone in your corner that will advocate for you. It's a combo of both of those things, right? Like that you first put yourself up and put yourself forward for being nominated, and then it is the people that will follow up and want to also, push you forward and encourage you and all the rest. And I think it's tricky because like I said to my friend who sent out that email, like, oh, like it's because of you that like I even got this award or whatever. And she like reminded me like that people won't nominate you if you're a terrible person anyway. So she wouldn't have like wanted to send that information or that email out if I didn't already have the qualities that were worthy of being nominated for. So it's like part and parcel. Like you got to be the person that people want to nominate in the first place, and then people will also advocate for you. And then as part of the trip here, there was a conference for the International Women's Day, Women's in Media New South Wales branch. And the lady who was doing the opening speech was talking about who can you lift up and encourage this week as a female in the industry, which often is seeking to tear each other down and be like, oh, there's only a certain amount of spots or there's only a certain amount of jobs or whatever. I know there's a lady, I can't remember her name, but she started a business and a media agency called There's Room for All. There really is enough space for all of us. We don't have to be tearing each other down. And so this lady at the event, she was like, who in the next week, in the next 24 hours, can you advocate for, can you support, can you lift up? And so that was my first takeaway from this whole trip, because I just feel like so often we get caught up in our own bubble of like I don't want to lift them up because I also want that opportunity. But how sweeter it is like if we do embrace and encourage and edify each other. And I just keep being like drawn back to that silly quote that people often use, and I don't really know if I ever quote it correctly, but like the rising sea lifts all boats, I think it is, and that we all do better when we advocate for one another. And that's just been so showcased to me this particular trip. And it didn't come with its costs as well. Like obviously coming from a regional area in Western Australia is very stressful and has whole lot of other barriers of entry. It's not just as quick as zipping around from, a capital city. But I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm so grateful for all the people that I've met. The other winner as well from Brisbane was absolutely exceptional. Just really energizing and just a wonderful woman of substance and beautiful character. But the other thing that I took away from this whole experience is the expression, one of the panelists from YouTube, the question was in the lineup of, what do you wish your younger self knew earlier? And she said to be more brave. And that was just really struck with me as a huge note to self, because I couldn't agree more. And it's so, so scary. And even so, a part of this, we had lunch with the CEO and with the head of HR. That's not her correct title now, but it's something like that. And it's even just in those conversations, being brave, being vulnerable, like people want to see, who you truly are. And they were talking about as well, like how people who are, you're taking a bit of a risk sometimes. And in those conversations, you're even taking a risk to share your heart or what you're wanting or whatever, or even to talk about yourself or advocate for yourself is a huge risk. And it could backfire for sure. But I feel like the more and more as I've gone in this journey over the last year, and especially since the starting Note to Self, is that, and this is what the CEO of our company, John Kelly, said. So he's the head of SCA, which is Southern Cross Media, and he was saying how, like, most people want to help. Most people want to support each other and help each other out. And, like, of course, you're going to have the people that aren't well aligned to that, but the majority of people are. And I think if you have that mentality, then the notion of being brave is so much easier. It's still scary, but so much easier. And this is a big note to self that I've been sort of like working with the whole sort of last 18 months, because it's really hard to advocate for yourself. Like, I don't know if this is like a female thing or like I can't speak for the male population because I'm not that, but why is it so hard to speak up for yourself? Why is it so hard to say, no, this is what I want, this is what I'm chasing, this is what my aspirations are? And in a situation like that, where you're sitting with the CEO, you're sitting with the head of HR, and they're asking you, what are your 3-year goals? What do you want? What drives you? You have to be confident and talk about, those aspirations. But it's just not easy. And it's not natural. And I'm so used to, and I've been so groomed and I've grown up just not having that kind of like, it's just not a done thing. And it's very curious. Like, I'd be super curious to find out, like, what the experiences of like men in the similar industry have been, if they have been encouraged to be brave and just to say whatever or to shoot your shot. And I just feel like this is a continuation of like this whole season 2, and Note to Self in and of itself is to be brave. It's like, like what is the worst that can happen? I remember when I went to a podcasting conference almost a year ago to this day, and I actually ran into the CEO of our company, John Kelly, there. And I remember chatting to him. And then I got back to Perth and I spoke to my boss and I was like, I ran into the CEO. Like, do you think I should email him and follow up and say like, oh, nice to see you or meet you or whatever? And my boss was like, of course. Like, you just have to forget that everyone has titles and forget that they're like, on this pedestal, and just be like, no, like everyone, they're just a human being. And as a human being, it was lovely to meet another human being from the same company in London, like completely out of the blue. And I think about that all the time as well, because I'm like, okay, well, if that is the case, and if I'm getting rid of titles and whatever, then of course you're going to email and be genuine and be like, well, thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you and all those sorts of things. But you have to be brave in that. You have to take that initial risk. So lots of big learnings today and lots of, solidifying, I think, of sort of the path that I have been on. I still have a few hesitations. Like, I don't know how to be brave in a space where the journey is not so clear. So, for example, I think a lot about working in media and parenthood. Like, becoming a mum and working in media doesn't really align for me. It's not a job that traditionally allows a lot of flexibility, and it's not a job that I just don't know how it works. How do you take time out and come back at the same level, if not more, if you're not already there? Like, I think if you're at the top of your game and then you go and have a baby for 6 months, you can come back a lot more easily. But for a lot of us, I think it's a really tricky thing to wrestle with. So how do I be brave in that space? How do I be brave taking a plunge into parenthood when I don't know what that looks like? I don't know if I'll survive it. And That's a very tricky thing. So I feel like it's all very well and good, obviously, for me to say, be brave. Like I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't. That's definitely for sure. But yeah, I do think that we do have to keep encouraging each other, encouraging ourselves to be brave, to put ourselves out there and to try things. And maybe this is a lesson for me, okay, I'm starting to learn how to be more and more brave with my day-to-day work life. But can I choose and trust that same brave approach for parenthood, for having a family? Do I trust my connections and my relationships that I've built? Do I trust my skill set enough to know that I'll be okay on the other side of having that child? I think I always get worried that I'll be irrevocably different and changed, and so that I won't what I want now. And then you go, okay, well then if I don't want what I want now, then it's fine because I'll be in a different spot. But me in this spot is like, well, I don't want to change the things that I want. I want what I want now. So there's a lot of processing. There's a lot of things going on, all in this one little trip. But I'm so grateful, and learning to be brave is like my big note to self that I wanted to share with you. And I just really love that from the YouTube lady, and hopefully that will start to continue to permeate through all of my life. And I should say as well, like I'm not very good at it. I'm terrible at being brave. For example, as well, like I had this lunch with the CEO and the head of HR lady today, and I cried twice in this lunch. And then the more I think about it, I get so embarrassed. But I'm like, it is also just so on brand for me. So I cried when I was talking about mentors and the people that have really helped me over this last 12 months. And I got really emotional thinking about them and where I would be without them. Like they have been so instrumental. And then I also cried when I was talking about my why and the reason why I wanted to be doing, this podcast and media in general and radio. And then I'm like, oh, so crying. I can't help it. I was like, But I also, that is very me. I think almost the last 3 interviews I've had for jobs, I've cried because when they ask me why I want to do it or what's my reasoning, I get so caught back up with the why, and I'm just so moved by it. And I have noticed, and this is the other beautiful thing about being brave and living by your values, is that when you continue to go down a path where you are being so authentic to yourself, the people who align with that are attracted to that, and the people that aren't fall away. So even if you were going for this big job or whatever, if they weren't aligned with you, or they were so overwhelmed by the fact that you were crying or whatever, then that's not a job for you. Because then even if it was the best job in the world and on paper everything looked like it lined up, but they weren't on board with who you are or how you are and your values, well, that was never going to work out in the first place. And I think we all know that. We instinctively know that that's not what we want, but then we get caught up in the title or the pay packet or the job description. And so often then we go, or maybe even you get the job or you push that down and you become who you think that they want you to be. You get the job and then you hate every second of it. And then you're like, why did I even want this job in the first place? So I think there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot to be learned for being yourself and being brave and being vulnerable. It's so messy. Why doesn't anyone talk about that? About how messy being brave and vulnerable is. I think maybe that's why people don't want to be brave, because of the messiness, and you have to share your heart and soul and whatnot with people. But I love it, and I want to see more of it. I want to see more people showing up authentically. I want to see more people living their truth, living in a way that brings them such joy. Like, come on, it's 2026. There is no room for cookie cutter. There is no room for fitting in a box. There's only you. And it is really hard to do. And I think it is getting harder as well, because we consume so much media and content and everything that it feels like you have to conform to a certain way of doing things. I just think you just need to do it in the way that works for you, and make sure you're you're aligned with yourself, if you're not hurting anyone, you're wanting the greater good, you're wanting to look after people, you're wanting to contribute, it can only go in a positive way. And I am so optimistic that the more we put that out there and the more we back ourselves and we really are honest with who we are, I feel like this world is going to be a better place. Because can you imagine if we stopped pretending that we, liked certain things, and we really just honed in on ourselves, how incredible this whole world would be. You wouldn't have, executives that are depressed so they make bad decisions. You'd have artists that are happy because they make art, or I don't know, it's a poor example. I don't have a lot of examples. But before I waffle on too long, I think my main point is a couple of things. First of all, note to self, be brave. Whatever it is, if it's scary, do it anyway. If it's scary, it's probably because you should do it. So do the scary thing, be brave, back yourself, and show up today in a way that only you can. I just was at a rooftop bar, sitting there by myself drinking a martini because I love martinis. And I felt like an idiot for probably an hour. And yes, the martini helped me feel like less of an idiot, but I wanted to be on that rooftop. I wanted to have a nice time, and eventually I did after my self-consciousness went away. But let's just embrace more of that side of ourselves. Let's be brave. Let's do big, risky, brave things that are aligned with our hearts, aligned with our core values. And yeah, I'm excited. This note to self is full of passion, and we'll see where we are next week. You can do amazing things, and I just believe in you, and I just encourage you. And yeah, let's shoot your shot, be brave, and do that thing. The time is now. You've only got one life, and what have you got to lose, hey? This has been Note to Self, and I'm Leah Tyndale, and I'll catch you next episode.